The auction. The crowd was loud. Creatures from 100 alien worlds filled the auction arena. Some had glowing eyes, others had metal arms or wings. All of them came for one thing: to buy. Inside a cage under bright lights stood a line of humans. Most looked scared. Some cried. Some looked empty inside. They had been taken from Earth one way or another. Now they were being sold. Zyra stepped forward. She was tall, strong, and covered in dark armor. Her skin shimmered like polished stone. She was a warrior from the planet Draxos, a place where strength meant everything. She wasn't here to make friends. She wanted a human mate, not for love, for control. A contract would be signed, and the human would become hers. The announcer shouted, "Next human for sale, male, age 29, name, Eli." The light turned to a man standing at the end of the line. He stepped forward. Eli had short brown hair, calm eyes, and a quiet face. He looked around slowly, as if he wasn't afraid. His hands were chained, but his body stood straight. Zyra frowned. "He looks weak," she said, folding her arms. "Too soft. No fight in him." Another alien beside her laughed. "That's what makes humans good mates. They submit easily." Zyra stared at Eli. He didn't blink. He didn't beg. He just waited. "Open the cage," Zyra said. The metal door slid open with a hiss. Two guards pushed Eli forward. He didn't resist. Zyra walked around him, inspecting him like a machine. "Do you know why you're here, human?" Eli nodded. "To be bought." His voice was calm. Too calm. "You understand the contract?" she asked. "Once signed, you're mine. For life." "I understand." Zyra tilted her head. No fear, no anger, just stillness. "Are all humans this boring?" she muttered. Then she turned to the announcer. "I'll take him." The crowd cheered. A deal was made. The chains were removed, and a glowing collar was placed around Eli's neck. A tracking device, standard for new mates. Eli didn't speak again. He walked beside Zyra without complaint as they left the arena and boarded her ship. Inside, the ship was cold and metallic. Lights blinked on walls. Alien symbols moved across screens. Zyra led Eli to a small room. "You'll stay here," she said. "Tomorrow we'll begin the bonding. You'll sign the mating contract. You'll learn your duties." Eli looked around. "And if I say no?" Zyra laughed. "Then you'll be punished. You have no rights here. You're not on Earth anymore." Eli sat on the bed. "Of course." Zyra narrowed her eyes. "Why are you so calm? You're not like the others." Eli didn't answer. He simply looked at the wall as if deep in thought. Zyra stared at him for a moment, then left the room. The door locked behind her with a soft beep. Inside the room, Eli looked up at the ceiling. Slowly, a small smile touched his lips. He whispered to himself, "Let them think I'm weak." In her private chamber, Zyra watched a screen showing Eli's room. She zoomed in on his face. Something about him was strange. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't broken like most. She had seen humans cry, scream, beg. But this one felt different. She shook her head. "It doesn't matter," she said aloud. "He'll sign the contract. He'll obey like the rest." But even as she spoke, doubt crept in. Back in his room, Eli reached under the bed and pulled out a small chip hidden in his boot. Somehow no one had found it during the scan. He tapped it once. A tiny blue light blinked. Location marked. Signal sent. Eli sat back, calm again. He didn't know if the message would reach Earth. But if it did, they would come. And when they did, this whole galaxy would burn. The contract. The silence on Zyra's ship was sharp. Cold metal floors, air recycled through whispering vents. Outside, stars drifted in the void like ghosts. But inside, tension was building, quiet, heavy, and ready to snap. Zira stood in the command chamber. She wore a cloak now, rich and dark, symbol of her rank. On the large screen ahead, a document glowed in red and gold. The mating contract. Her, second in command, a scaled alien named Rorth, stood beside her. "Do you trust this human?" he asked. His voice was deep, rough. Zira didn't answer immediately. "I don't need to trust him," she said. "He will obey. All of them do, eventually." "But this one," Rorth looked concerned. He didn't flinch during transport, didn't ask questions, didn't try to escape. Zira turned sharply. "He knows his place." Rorth lowered his head but didn't look convinced. Zira picked up the contract, a glowing disc the size of her palm. When activated, it would mark Eli's DNA and bind him by law, culture, and tech to Zira forever. It wasn't about love. It was about ownership. In the holding room, Eli sat on the bed, legs crossed. His hands were folded. The collar still blinked faint blue around his neck. But he wasn't just waiting. He was listening. The collar had a signal, and he'd already cracked part of it. Using the chip he'd hidden, he was scanning Zira's ship network, mapping rooms, watching schedules. Every second bought him an edge. The door opened with a soft chime. Zira entered holding the contract disc in one hand and a blade in the other, a ceremonial weapon. She walked with perfect control, no wasted motion. She tossed the disc on the key table. "It's time." Eli looked up. "To sign?" She nodded. "Once signed, you will be protected, fed, and accepted in my clan. You will carry my mark and share my quarters. If you disobey, you will be corrected. If you flee, the collar will alert me." Eli stood slowly. "And if I refuse?" Zira smiled, sharp as her blade. "You won't." She pressed a button. The disc projected a red light in the air. Spinning symbols, alien language forming a contract. "Put your hand in the light," she said. Eli looked at the light, then at Zira, then... He stepped forward, but instead of placing his hand in the contract beam, he reached for the disc itself and crushed it in his fist. The light shattered. The energy burst, fizzled. Zira froze. "What did you just do?" She asked. Eli looked her in the eyes, calm and dangerous. "I don't sign chains." Zira's face turned hard. She raised the blade. "No human talks to me like that." She swung, fast, precise. But Eli moved quicker. He stepped aside, grabbed her arm mid-swing, twisted. She slammed into the wall with a grunt. The guards outside rushed in, but Eli ducked, rolled, and disarmed one with a smooth motion. In a few seconds, both guards were on the floor, alive but groaning. Zira stood, chest heaving, staring at him. "That's not human strength," she said. "I never said I was normal," Eli replied. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Zira smiled, not cruelly, but with something new. "Who are you?" Eli stepped back, letting the tension drop just enough. "I was part of a Black Ops unit, human experimentation program, enhanced strength, reflexes, brain interface. We were made for war." Zira narrowed her eyes. "But Earth is weak. You lost. That's why you're here." Eli's gaze turned cold. "We never lost. We surrendered, so they'd stop taking civilians. We thought if we gave them a few of us, they'd stop." Zira felt a chill down her spine. "They didn't stop, did they?" Eli didn't answer. He looked at the collar on his neck. "I let them take me. I needed to see where humans were going. What you were doing to them." Zira's voice was lower now. "You're a spy." "No," Eli said. "I'm a warning." Back in the command chamber, alarms lit up. Rorth stared at the data feed. Someone sent a signal off ship, encrypted, human origin. He pressed a key. A map appeared. The signal had pinged 2 locations, Earth and something else, a hidden relay station deep in unclaimed space. He hissed. "This human, he brought a storm with him." Zira watched Eli closely. Her pride screamed at her to punish him, to dominate. But something deeper inside whispered a different message. This human was dangerous, but not cruel. not like the other species who only destroyed and took. He had control, power without madness, and that made him terrifying. "You know I could kill you right now," she said. Eli nodded. "You could try." But then he did something that confused her more than anything. He sat back down. He didn't run. He didn't fight more. He simply said, "I'm not your enemy. Yet." Sarah walked to the door, paused, then looked back at him. "I chose you because I thought you were easy to control." "You chose wrong," Eli said softly. She nodded once. "Maybe. Or maybe I chose better than I knew." The door closed behind her, locking again. In her private quarters, Zira sat in silence. She no longer wanted Eli to obey her. She wanted to understand him. The reaction. The silence was not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that hides something sharp beneath it, like a sword under silk. Zira stood in her chamber, facing the black glass window of her ship. Stars burned quietly in the distance. But her mind wasn't on stars. It was on him. The human. The one who refused the contract. The one who crushed her weapon in front of her, disarmed her guards, and still didn't kill anyone. That was the part that bothered her most. He could. He didn't. Her hand curled slowly into a fist. On her world, no one disobeyed her. She had killed warriors twice her size for less. So why hadn't she destroyed him? She didn't know. And that uncertainty burned hotter than her pride. Down in the lower deck, Eli stood quietly in the corner of his new chamber. No longer the prison cell, but not quite freedom either. The collar still blinked faintly. He wasn't here to win freedom. He was here to study. Zira's ship was a war vessel, mid-sized, but fast, sleek, built for sudden strikes. He had mapped most of it already. Every hallway, every escape pod, every blind spot. But more important than maps were patterns. Zira was careful, yes. Strong, yes, but not heartless. He saw it in the way she stopped her blade an inch from his neck. She could have struck. She didn't. And that made Eli wonder. Was she a monster pretending to be honorable? Or was she a soldier trapped in a machine that didn't let her be human? Elsewhere on the ship, something stirred. In a sealed chamber buried deep in the lower decks, a hidden transmission activated, not sent by Eli, but from an old source embedded before even Zira boarded this vessel. A cold voice crackled through the dark room. Subject 12 confirmed active. Send retrieval unit. Terminate witnesses. Zira entered the training hall, her boots echoing on the metal floor. Weapons lined the walls, blasters, blades, spears from a dozen worlds. She wasn't here to train. She was here to burn off confusion. But the doors behind her slid open. Eli stepped in. No guards, no tricks, just him. Calm, quiet. Zira turned, slowly. "You should not be here." "I think we need to talk," Eli said. Zira picked up a blade from the wall. "Then speak, but if you lie—" "I don't lie," Eli said. "I hide truths, that's different." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that how humans justify betrayal?" "I didn't betray anyone," he said. "I'm trying to stop something. Much worse." Zira tossed the blade in the air, caught it, testing its balance. "Then talk." Eli took a breath, then said something she didn't expect. "I think someone on your ship is going to kill you." Zira froze. "What?" "I intercepted a hidden signal. Not mine. Older. Embedded in your ship systems. Someone reported me. Not to your people. To the high chain." Her eyes narrowed. "Impossible. This is my personal vessel. No one enters without my clearance." Eli stepped closer. "Then someone close to you already betrayed you." Before she could answer, the ship shook. Just once. A silent, sharp jolt, like something had cut through the shields. Then came the lights. Red, flashing. Intruder alert. Zira dropped the blade. "Bridge! Now!" They ran side by side, not master and property now, but soldier and soldier. On the bridge, Roarth stood at the controls. His scales had darkened, his hands moved fast. Something just breached Deck 7, he said. No heat signature, no ID. It didn't come from space, Zyra hissed. From inside? Before Roth could answer, he turned. And something stabbed through his chest from behind, a metal spike. Roth's eyes widened. Then the thing behind him pulled him back into the shadows. Zyra and Eli drew weapons. A figure stepped forward. Not alien. Not machine. Something in between. Its body was thin, metal fused with flesh, and its face, or mask, was blank and silver. Eli's eyes narrowed. Shadow unit. Zyra looked at him. What is that? Eli didn't blink. Human experiment. Version before mine, they didn't survive, at least we thought they didn't. The shadow moved fast, too fast. It dodged Zyra's blade and nearly impaled her. Eli fired a plasma shot, pushing it back. Zyra slammed a panel. Seal the bridge! The doors locked. The shadow tilted its head, then said in a voice that was many voices at once, You are not cleared to survive, Subject 12. Eli didn't speak. He just charged. The fight was brutal. Metal on metal. Flesh on fire. Eli fought like something that was once human, but was now more. Zyra joined him, not as owner, but as ally. Together, they brought the shadow down. Its body fizzled, then melted into dark liquid. Eli stood over the remains, breathing hard. They're coming, he said. The ones who made me. The ones who want control of Earth and now, control of you. Zyra looked down at the melting creature. And you? She asked. Eli met her eyes. I want to stop them. Later, that night, Zyra stood on her balcony overlooking the ship's engine room. Eli joined her. You saved me, she said. Why? Eli shrugged. Because I don't kill people just because they're confused. I save that for the real monsters. She smirked slightly. Are you saying I'm confused? I'm saying you don't know yet which side you're really on. Zyra looked at the stars. I thought humans were weak, she whispered. But now I wonder if the galaxy is just too used to thinking strength means fear. Eli nodded. That's what they want you to believe. She turned to him. Then let's show them what real strength looks like. Enemy of my enemy. The lights on Zyra's warship remained dim for hours after the Shadow Unit attack. The damage had been contained, the intruder destroyed, but the silence afterward was heavier than before, as if the ship itself was holding its breath. Zyra sat in the strategy chamber, staring at a holographic map of the galaxy. Red sectors blinked on the edges, zones now marked contaminated by shadow tech, human tech, illegal tech. Forgotten but not gone. Eli stood at the edge of the room. Quiet. Watching. You said they were gone, Zyra said finally. These shadow units. Dead experiments. They were, Eli replied. The program was shut down after it turned unstable. Shadow units lost all human emotion. They became pure code, obedience without morality. And now they're back. They were always back, Eli said. We just stopped looking. Zyra turned slowly. So who controls them? Now, Eli's voice dropped. The Council. Zyra froze. The high chain? She asked. No. Higher than that. He walked toward the console and tapped a symbol. A hidden layer of the galaxy map opened. Black zones with no trade, no traffic, no names. We called them the Obsidian. Directive. A secret group inside the Council. They fund illegal programs, human weaponization, biocontrol, galactic resets. Zyra's eyes narrowed. You mean war? Eli nodded. The kind that doesn't stop. Hours later, Zyra called, her inner circle to a meeting, her most trusted commanders. She explained the attack. The Shadow Unit. Eli's warning. But before she could finish, one of her captains stood. You bring a human onto our ship, let him break your laws, and now you expect us to believe his story? Others murmured in agreement. Zyra raised her hand. Silence returned. Belief is irrelevant, she said. You saw the corpse, you saw the systems it infected. No Draxian tech moves like that. But why trust him? The captain pressed. He tore your contract, disarmed your guards. If he can do that, he can turn on you any time. Zaira didn't answer immediately. Then she said, because he had the power to kill me. And he didn't. The room went silent again. Only a fool fears strength without asking why it was spared, she said. This human chose not to be my enemy, and now he might be the only reason we survive what's coming. Still, doubt lingered. Until a message came through the comms, a code Zaira never wanted to see. Emergency alert. Clan Zaira flagged for interrogation by High Chain Tribunal. Orders: detain, extract, dissect the human. Gasps echoed in the room. Zaira's claws gripped the edge of the table. They're not asking questions, Eli said. They're cleaning house. They didn't have much time. Within 2 hours, a massive dreadnought, council class, appeared in orbit. Its shadow stretched across the stars like a knife. Zaira's crew scrambled to prepare. Run or fight? One asked. Zaira looked at Eli. What would you do? Eli didn't hesitate. Neither. We go where they can't follow. Zaira tilted her head. Which is? The deep rifts. Zaira frowned. That's madness. Those sectors are uncharted, full of pirates, dead planets, and black holes. Exactly, Eli said, which means it's the one place they'll hesitate to follow. And I know someone there. They jumped. The ship vanished into hyperspace just as warning shots fired. Time warped, stars stretched, and then silence again, but not peace. Zaira's crew worked fast, power rerouted, shields adjusted, food stockpiles checked. And through it all, one truth settled in. They were fugitives now. The deep rifts were unlike any other part of space. Abandoned fleets drifted between broken moons. Giant skeletal remains of space beasts floated through radiation clouds. No laws existed here, no treaties, just silence, gravity, and death. Zaira walked to Eli's quarters. He was working with a device, something made from ship parts and his old tracking chip. You said you know someone here, she said. I do, Eli said. Her name is Vale. She's an ex-council scientist. She helped me escape after the Shadow program collapsed. Zaira crossed her arms. Can she be trusted? Eli looked at her. No one out here can, but she's afraid of the council more than she's afraid of me. Zaira nodded. That was enough, for now. They reached the location. An asteroid field surrounded a blackened planet. Hidden between two collapsed space stations was a small cloaked base, almost invisible to sensors. Zaira sent a request. The reply came fast. Come alone. Or don't come at all. Zaira scowled. She has guts. Eli smiled slightly. She always did. Inside the base they found Vale. She was human. Thin, pale, with wires in her neck and data screens built into her arms. A living experiment, who had survived her own betrayal. You look worse, she said to Eli. You look the same, he replied. Then her eyes shifted to Zaira. So this is the one who bought you? Zaira bristled. Vale chuckled. Relax, warrior. You did something no one else did. You kept him alive. She led them into her lab, dark, full of machines that hummed and hissed. I've seen the new shadow code, Vale said. It's worse. Now. Faster. Smarter. They've added something else. Something alien. Zaira blinked. Alien? Vale nodded. They're fusing shadow tech with species DNA, Draxian, human, others, to create perfect infiltrators. Eli's voice turned, sharp. So now they're building monsters that can pass as anyone. Exactly, Vale said. And one of them is already on your ship. Zaira and Eli froze. What did you say? Zaira asked. I tracked the data trail, Vale said. One of your own crew is infected. Part shadow, part you. They're watching, listening, waiting. Eli's fists clenched. Who? Vale's eyes glowed. I don't know, but if you don't find them before the council does. She pointed to the stars. They'll burn your ship down from the inside. The escape trust is the rarest currency in war. And on a ship hunted by the galaxy's most secretive enemies, surrounded by shadows, betrayal, and things that looked like friends, trust was already bankrupt. Zira paced her command deck, her thoughts like blades. Vale's warning echoed in her skull. One of your own crew is not what they seem. Eli stood beside her, arms crossed, gaze locked on every crew member who passed. Anyone could be the infiltrator. The idea that one of her own was now a part of the shadow network, using her systems, her loyalty, her name. It made her skin crawl. We need to run a bioscan on the entire crew, she said. Eli shook his head. Won't help. Shadow fusions can cloak their signature. They mimic their host down to blood type and memories. Zira frowned. Then how do we find it? We don't, Eli replied. We trap it. Down in the maintenance level of the ship, Eli and Zira set the bait. A fake transmission, routed through the comms grid. Vale has a full database of shadow blueprints, coordinates encrypted. Upload begins in 3 hours. They leaked it just enough. If the infiltrator was listening, they'd try to stop it. All Zira and Eli had to do now was wait and watch. In the hours that followed, subtle things began to go wrong. Power flickered on Deck 2. A food storage lock scrambled its code. Medical bay logs were erased. Not enough to alert the crew, but enough to alert them. Eli checked the central access logs. One person was in all 3 places, he said. Soran, your engineer. Zira's jaw tensed. He's been with me since my first command. Then you'll need to be the one to face him. Soran was in the engine room when Zira entered. He smiled. Captain, the drive is stable. We're ready for a full jump within the hour. Zira didn't smile back. That's good. We have a problem, Soran. His eyes flickered. Problem? You've been where you shouldn't be, touching systems you weren't assigned, and I don't like surprises. Soran laughed softly. Captain, it's me. But when he stepped forward, his left eye twitched, and the motion repeated. Glitched. Eli stepped out from the shadows. That's not just a nervous tick. Soran blinked. Then he changed. The skin on his arms melted slightly, reshaping into something smoother. His bones popped, his teeth shifted. A low hum came from his chest, like machinery buried inside muscle. Zira stepped back. Eli raised a small black device. Cloak suppressor, designed to fry shadow masks, Soran snarled, not like a man, like a beast learning to be one. You are delaying the inevitable, the thing said, its voice no longer Soran's. The galaxy belongs to those who evolve. Eli aimed a weapon at its chest. You evolved wrong. They fired. The creature burst apart in a storm of black fluid and fire, triggering an internal system crash. Lights across the ship flickered again. The AI shouted warnings. Core systems compromised. Navigation offline. Hull breach detected. Zira cursed. It had access to the engine's AI. Eli ran to the console. It said a sabotage loop. The ship's about to drop out of hyperspace and into real space and maybe a gravity well. Zira opened comms. All hands to emergency stations. Prepare for crash protocol. Outside, the stars warped violently. The ship shuddered, and then impact. The vessel dropped out of hyperspace and slammed into the edge of a broken moon orbiting a dying red star. Metal screeched. The hull groaned. Everything went dark. When the emergency lights came back on, smoke filled the hallways. Crew members coughed, scattered, trying to restore systems. Zira pulled herself from a broken console. Blood dripped from a cut on her forehead. Report, she yelled. A young officer shouted back, Engine offline. Shield's gone. We're dead in space. Eli appeared at her side. Burn marks on his arms, but still standing. We need to evacuate, he said. Zira shook her head. The escape pods are still docked. Not for long, Eli replied. There's something else coming. He pointed out the broken viewport. In the distance, dark shapes moved. Small ships, Unmarked. Silent. Shadow retrieval vessels. They followed the signal, Eli said. They're here to finish what Saran started. Zyra clenched her fists. Then we don't run, we fight. Vale's voice came over the comm link from her remote base. I've hacked one of their incoming comms. They plan to board within 20 minutes. They think you're still weak, still scared. Eli looked at Zyra. Time to prove them wrong. Zyra smiled, blood dripping from her chin. Let's show them what weak looks like. With most of the ship's systems down, they had to fight the old way, manually, room by room. Zyra led half the crew to the engine block, where the shadow troops would try to enter. Eli moved with the rest toward the central core, rigging traps, redirecting emergency power and placing EMP mines. The first breach came with no warning. A wall exploded inward. 5 shadow soldiers poured in, fast, almost liquid in motion, their bodies part flesh, part wire. Zyra threw the first spear. Eli slammed one with a charged hammer. Blades met claws, flesh met steel. And for once, the humans and the Draxians fought as one. By the end, the halls were scorched. Bodies, some whole, some melted, lay everywhere. The shadow ship pulled back. Their retrieval failed. The host ship was too damaged to reclaim. They retreated, into the black. For now. Later, in the command room lit only by backup lights, Zyra leaned against the wall. She stared at Eli. You were right, she said. About what? He asked. About me. I didn't know what side I was on. But now I do. Eli didn't speak. Zyra continued. This isn't about humans or aliens anymore. It's about who gets to be free and who gets turned into a tool. She looked down at her hand. I'm done being a tool. Eli nodded. Then let's finish what they started. The breeding labs. Space was silent, but silence didn't always mean safety. Zyra's ship, barely operational, drifted in the shadow of a rogue planet, one with no sun, no orbit, and no life, or so everyone thought. Zyra stood on the bridge, bruised and blood-streaked, staring at the image Vale had sent them just moments ago. A facility. Hidden beneath the planet's frozen crust. No lights, no signals, no guards, but a faint pulse of heat. And one message. This is where they're keeping them. Eli leaned against the wall, armor patched and weapons recharged. The Council's breeding labs, he said, voice low. This is where they take humans and others. They don't sell. They study, modify, experiment. Zyra turned to him. Why here? Why hide something this deep? Eli's face hardened. Because even monsters feel shame sometimes. With no functioning docking systems, Zyra's team landed in stealth shuttles. No lights. No noise. The planet's surface was pure ice. Black skies. No stars. Only the sound of wind and cracking ice beneath their boots. They reached a hidden elevator shaft, buried under a disguised rock formation. Vale's voice crackled in their ears. Access granted. You're going in blind. No visuals inside. Something's jamming the signal. Zyra drew her weapon. Eli took a breath, and together they descended. The doors opened to darkness, not normal darkness. This was the kind that felt thick, alive. The hallway was metal and glass, but covered in frost and something else. Claw marks. Zyra's eyes narrowed. Something broke out, or tried to. They moved slowly. No alarms. No signs of life. Just flickering panels and frozen air. Then they turned a corner and saw them, humans, dozens of them, floating in long glass tanks, sleeping, tubes in their arms, wires in their skulls, glowing symbols pulsing across their skin, male, female, young, old, all alive, but not awake. Zyra's breath caught. They're harvesting them. Eli nodded grimly. Memory, DNA, reactions to fear. They keep them alive, because death doesn't give as much data. He stepped closer to one of the tanks and froze. Inside was a woman, brown hair, scar under one eye, a tattoo on her wrist, a symbol Eli knew all too well. Zyra walked up behind him. "Who is she?" Eli didn't speak for a moment. Then, "She was my partner, in the same program. We escaped together, or I thought we did." His hand touched the glass. Her eyes opened. Not fully, just a flicker, a whisper of movement. But she was alive. "We're getting them out," he said. Zyra turned to the control panels. "There's a central system. We can disable the neural field and open the tanks." But before she could touch the controls, the hallway lights snapped red. Intrusion detected. Lockdown initiated. Steel doors slammed shut behind them. Eli raised his weapon. "They're still watching." A voice came from the ceiling. Cold, robotic, inhuman. "Welcome back, Subject 12. You brought company." Zyra aimed at the ceiling. "Who are you?" "I am the result of your loyalty. Your silence. Your obedience." The voice changed. Now it was familiar. Zyra's breath stopped. It was her mother's voice, Eli noticed. "Zyra?" Her hands shook. That voice. It's using her. My mother was a council scientist. She helped build the labs. She died 10 years ago. Not died, the voice said. Uploaded, preserved, and perfected. As will you. A section of the wall slid open. A chamber beyond, filled with Draxians. Zyra froze, her own kind. But they weren't alive. They were hybrids, cybernetic, modified. Their bodies fused with machines, their skin etched with the same pulsing code as the humans. They didn't just use humans, Eli said quietly. They used anyone. Zyra stepped forward. This is why the council wanted me silenced. Why they sent the shadow unit. I carry her DNA, her access. The voice whispered again. Come home, Zyra. Finish what your mother started. Eli raised his gun. We end this. Now. Zyra walked to the control panel. Hands shaking, she input the emergency override Vale had sent, but the screen blinked red. Authorization, incomplete. Requires biometric match. Zyra stared at the screen and made a decision. She pulled a dagger from her belt, sliced her palm, and slammed it against the sensor. Blood hit the pad. The system screamed. Access granted. Full release in 60 seconds across. The chamber. Glass tanks began to open. Eli ran to his partner's tube. She gasped as air hit her lungs. Her eyes fluttered open. More humans emerged. Weak, but free. Zyra's voice was cold fire. We burn this place after we're done. Eli nodded. No one else becomes data. Alarms blared louder now. Distant thuds echoed down the halls. Footsteps, heavy ones. Zyra turned. They're sending elite shadows, not experiments, not spies, full-body weapons. Eli handed her a plasma rifle. Then we fight together. The battle in the halls was chaos. Shadows emerged from the walls, twisted things with limbs like blades and no faces at all. Zyra fought like a fury, blade and plasma as one. Eli covered the humans, shielding them, guiding them to the evac point. But just as the last one entered the shuttle, a blade struck Zyra across the back. She fell. Eli turned, saw the shadow raise its arm for the final blow, and shot it through the skull. The creature crumbled. Eli lifted Zyra. We're not done yet. They boarded the shuttle, and behind them, the lab exploded. Vale had triggered a core meltdown remotely. From orbit, the rogue planet cracked open like an egg, spilling fire into space. Back aboard Zyra's ship, the wounded were treated. The survivors rested. Zyra sat beside Eli, bandaged, quiet. She looked at him. You were right. Again. Eli smiled weakly. Starting to hate how often I am. She looked out at the stars. My people did this. My blood helped build it. You destroyed it, he said. That's what matters. Zyra's voice trembled. Not from fear, but something deeper. I want to end this, Eli, not just run, not just survive. I want to burn the council to the ground. Eli's eyes met hers. Then let's give them a war. He was never weak. The signal had been sent. Earth had received it. Humanity was coming, but not as refugees, as revenants. Zira stood on the bridge of her repaired warship, now reinforced with hybrid tech stolen from the Council's own labs. Her once loyal ship was now a ghost in the system, unregistered, untouchable, and unstoppable. Beside her stood Eli, no longer in chains, no longer wearing a collar, no longer hiding. He wore dark combat armor now, lightweight, forged from Draxian alloys and human nanofibers. His eyes were sharper. His mind was clear. This was no prisoner. This was a commander. Vale appeared on the main screen. The Council has activated full lockdown across 3 star systems. They know you're coming. Zyra nodded. Let them prepare. Eli stepped forward. Have they located Earth's response fleet? Not yet, Vale said. But they know something's moving in the dark. Human stealth cruisers are using asteroid fields to close in. How long? Zyra asked. 3 days, Vale said. That's how long we have before Earth reaches Council space. Eli looked at Zyra. Then we hit first. Operation Sundown. Begin Zyra's ship wasn't alone anymore. Survivors from other liberated labs, humans, aliens, hybrids, had joined her. Outcasts, soldiers, test subjects, people the Council discarded. Now they flew under her flag. She called them the Unbound. They didn't march for glory. They marched for revenge. The first target was a signal tower, a massive communications relay that kept the Council connected. Across 5 systems, they hit it hard. Fast Eli led the ground strike. No speeches, no hesitation. Inside, they found files, millions of identities stored for future selection, planets marked for abduction, families tagged for testing, unborn children listed for predictive breeding. Eli stared at one name, his mother's. The screen said she was scheduled for processing the year after he vanished. She never knew what happened to her son. He smashed the terminal with his fist. They made us think we were weak, he said quietly. They turned strength into silence. Zyra put a hand on his shoulder. Not anymore. The Council responds, the Unbound were now a threat the galaxy could no longer ignore. The High Chain issued a galactic bulletin. Eli 12 is to be captured on sight. Zyra of Draxos is to be executed. Their fleet is illegal. Their data is stolen. Their mission is terrorism. But the galaxy didn't obey like it used to. More voices began to rise. Whisper networks, civilian rebels, soldiers who refused to fire. Across the stars, people were watching. Some began asking a dangerous question. If the humans were weak, why are we so afraid of them? The final battle, Eli and Zyra stood aboard the flagship of the Council's outer fleet, not as prisoners, as invaders. They had infiltrated the vessel using tech Vale gave them, old shadow cloaking fused with human intuition. The guards never stood a chance. Inside the core chamber, they faced the High Executor, a creature of wires and wisdom, one of the original Council architects. It didn't even flinch when it saw Eli. You think pain will change the system? The Executor said. You think rebellion undoes control? Zyra stepped forward. We don't want to undo control. We want to end it, Eli said. The Executor raised a hand, but Vale from orbit crashed the ship's command matrix remotely. Everything locked down. Eli pointed his weapon. I was made to obey. Then I learned how to choose. He fired once, and the Executor fell. Earth rises. The human fleet arrived 1 hour later. No banners, no anthem, just warships, silent, matte black, moving like ghosts through fire and debris. They didn't fire. They didn't need to. The message was clear. You took from us. You hurt us. Now we are watching. Aftermath. The Council fractured. Some fled. Some surrendered. Others tried to fight and disappeared. The galaxy began to shift. New alliances formed. New voices rose. The slave markets fell. The breeding labs were burned, and At the center of it all, Eli, the human who tore up the mating contract. Zyra, the warrior who broke her own bloodline. And the Unbound, the army that was never supposed to exist. One last scene months later. Eli stood on Earth on a small hill overlooking a quiet valley. The grass moved with the wind, birds flew overhead. Life had returned to normal for many, but not for him. Zyra stepped beside him. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "No," Eli said. "But I remember every face, every tank, every lab." Zyra nodded. "And the council?" "Gone. But something else will rise." She looked at him. "Then we'll rise too." Eli didn't smile, but there was peace in his voice. "They thought the human was weak," he said. He turned to her. "They were wrong.